Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astothara Sakrishvi Shrimat His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astothara Sakrishvi Shrimat His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास हरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hare Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So we continue with our reading into the Transcendental Diary. Prabhupada is in Shida Mayapur. And it's Ekadashi and also the appearance day of Lord Varahadev. So, Chapter 9, Shida Mayapur, February 11th, 1976. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadini Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschetta Dishatharini Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Transcendental Diary is the personal diary of His Grace Hari Sauri Prabhu, who somehow by good fortune became the personal servant of Srila Prabhupada. And at that time he had the presence of mind that he was in such a great situation, or he just thought, he couldn't believe that he was like the personal servant of Srila Prabhupada, and he decided to keep a diary. So each night he would write down the events that took place, and later on he compiled it into, I think, 4 or 5 volumes called the Transcendental Diary. So now we're reading of the accounts or the activities of Srila Prabhupada in from February 11th, 1976. Srila Prabhupada is in Sridham, Mayapur, and it's a Kadashi, and it is coupled with a half-day fast for Lord Varaha Dev's appearance. Although it's mentioned that the Lord's appearance is actually tomorrow. So we also experience this on our calendar, and we try to observe accordingly. One of the points that come up early is Prabhupada, he sets the fasting observance for different incarnations of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada also verbally listed the proper fasting periods to observe. Srila Prabhupada also verbally listed the proper fasting periods to observe for other auspicious days. Lord Nityananda's, Sri Advaita's, Lord Balaram's, and Srimati Radharani's appearances are all half-day fasts. Lord Nrsimha and Lord Ramachandra's appearances are full-day fast until sunset, while Gaur Purnima is a fast until moonrise. So here Hari Sauri Prabhu uses the word verbally. So again he says, Srila Prabhupada also verbally listed proper fasting periods to observe for other auspicious days. Lord Nityananda's, Sri Advaita, Lord Balaram, and Srimati Radharani's appearances are all half-day fasts. Lord Nrsimha and Lord Ramachandra's appearances are full-day fast until sunset, while Gaur Purnima is a fast until moonrise. We continue. Tamal Krishna Maharaj inquired about observing the appearance and disappearance days of great Vaishnavas. He described how we observe a half-day fast for our immediate predecessor acharyas. He wanted to know if we should also do the same for personalities like Srila Narottam Das and others like him. Prabhupada said yes, if it is possible. But he added that if devotees are engaged in preaching work, they may not. He said that the main thing is to sing some songs of praise and perform kirtan. Tamal Krishna also asked about chanting while observing Ekadashi. We should always chant 25 rounds on Ekadashi if initiated. This was a comment or statement made by Tamal Krishna Maharaj to Prabhupada. Prabhupada replied, initiated? Everyone. Why initiated? So that should be a standard for our movement on Ekadashi day, Tamal asked. Standard is 16, but if one can chant more, he is welcome, Prabhupada replied. Tamal Krishna pressed to know if 25 is mandatory or not. When Jayapataka Maharaj suggested that it was recommended, Prabhupada seemed to disagree. No, Ekadashi means that fasting and chanting. However, when Tamal Krishna Maharaj referred to his men going out on book distribution, Srila Prabhupada was quick to clarify. No, that is also preaching work. For that purpose, you can stop this. But generally, one who has no preaching work, he can chant extra. We continue. Vrindavan Chandra Day. Prabhupada's second son arrived today. Prabhupada is trying to engage him in Krishna service. Prabhupada is purchasing a flat in Calcutta for his former family, where they will live as guests. In return, Prabhupada wants Vrindavan Chandra to sell his books. Vrindavan owns a company called Vrinda Books, and he has already sold a complete set of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita to Calcutta University. Srila Prabhupada encouraged him to distribute them throughout West Bengal. Vrindavan Chandra wanted Prabhupada to get them a bigger flat, but Prabhupada refused. As a sannyasi, he is not obligated in any way. It is simply out of his mercy that he has arranged adequate accommodation for them. Continue. Jivana Maharaj has finally written. He has gone to Vrindavan to rest. He said, I have been very ill and travelling too much, so now I am helping to take care of the deities here. Srila Prabhupada was pleased to hear this message, but being aware of Jayavana's disturbed state of mind, he mercifully offered him a chance for rectification. I think it will be good if you will live with me and assist me in so many ways. Here there are other GBC and sannyasis like Jayapataka Swami, Bhavananda Maharaj, Tamal Krishna Goswami, etc. It would be nice if you stay with experienced men. I hope you will be benefited in this way. Swarup Damodar also sent a letter from America. He is unable to leave for at least 6 months due to a pending immigration visa application. So he will not be able to attend the programs planned for early April in Manipur, his home state. He is busy setting up the Bhaktivedanta Institute for preaching in the scientific field in colleges and universities. He, Rupanuga Madhava, Sadaputa Ravindra Swarup and Subhananda Prabhus are the core members. He wanted to know if he could start up a Sankirtan party to fund the proposed college lecture program in the fall. Prabhupada discussed the idea with Tamar Krishna Maharaj, who suggested that since his Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtan party is already collecting and has a solid university program, the institute members could travel on their buses. This would solve their funding problems and guarantee many opportunities for the type of preaching work when they want to do. Prabhupada liked the idea and he wrote back suggesting Swarup Damodar accept the offer. Swarup Damodar also suggested that the candidates for the titles of Bhaktivedanta and Bhakti Sarvabhauma should submit a thesis on a Vaishnava topic. Some of these scholarly essays could then be published into small books. Prabhupada liked the idea and told him, regarding publishing books, these books can be published by you and men in your rank. Ordinary men cannot write such books. So therefore, if a book is written by one man with Bhakti Vedanta or Bhakti Sarvabhauma and it is of high quality, then it may be considered by me for publishing. So this is a nice exchange by letter between Swarup Damodar Maharaj. I was fortunate to see and hear His Holiness Swarup Damodar Maharaj when he came first to South Africa. I think it was his only visit to South Africa. And I was asked by my friend Dr. Juta in Verlum. He called me one Thursday. He says, Rakesh, Swarup Damodar Maharaj is coming to Manji Center. So Manji Center is a block of flats in central town owned by the Gujarati family, community. I think maybe 1988 or around there. I forget the year. So my friend Dr. Juta wanted company because he was going alone. So I said, okay, fine, I'll come along. And so we came. I remember His Grace Shruta Kirti Prabhu was the temple president at that time. And he was there, and many brahmacharis from the temple were there, and the Gujarati community was there. So His Honour Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, he gave the talk, and before, his Mangala Acharana was so wonderful to hear. Om Agyana, and then he would sing the Brahma Samhita and play the harmonium. It was so different, and at the end we had a kirtan. He gave a talk and we had a kirtan, and then he engaged us all in singing, chanting and dancing. And for the first time, someone came up to me and they put the mic for me to sing, and I was just like chanting japa because I'm not a singer, and that was the first time that someone actually came up, in the kirtan and put the mic for your mouth to sing. So the second time happened here when His Holiness Amiya Vilas Maharaj came. He came for Ratha Yatra. He stayed for a few months and he would go out to the different Namahatas speaking. And he also did the same. It was a Sunday love feast, and I came dressed in karmi clothes, and I was quite new. And I never expected someone to put the microphone by your mouth to sing. And anyway, he did that. And then I tried to sing, and then he tapped me on my chest and he says, open your heart, open your heart. And I'll never forget that. And then I realized, there's so much more to chanting, and I remember His Holiness Amiya Vilas Maharaj, that he did that, and he just tapped me on my chest. He says, open your heart, open your heart. So also when I read this, then I remember Swarup Damodar Maharaj at Manji Center. It was such a nice experience. And then He was offered some prasad and he took prasad and then he left and we went down to the car park, to the parking lot to see him off. So we'll continue. February 12, 1976. Today's appearance of Lord Varaha. There is no fast. During his massage, Prabhupada talked about his god brothers. He is of the opinion that one day if Chaitanya Mat and others will want to amalgamate with us because they are not able to maintain the buildings and programs properly. He suggested that either we could jointly manage or Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Giriraj Govardhan ki jai, Gaur Hari ki jai, Tulsi Maharani ki jai, Guru Parampara ki jai. He suggested that either we could jointly manage or we would manage and they would run the Mata, or we could simply supply their financial necessities and jointly preach. Prabhupada said that it would be ideal for the Indian devotees and our Western devotees that Prabhupada said it would be ideal if they Indian devotees and our Western devotees went village to village to preach together. Prabhupada recalled that when he visited his Guru Maharaj at Radhakund in 1935, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta told him of a blazing fire that would occur in the Gaudiya Math and how he wanted to rip up the marble in the Bhag Bazaar temple and use it to sell books. Prabhupada said that this was when he understood how his Guru Maharaj could be pleased. He explained that the fight to control the martyrs that occurred immediately after Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's disappearance was the first aparad. It was Guru Avaksha, disobeying the orders of the spiritual master. Since then, many more offences have been committed. He remarked that his god brothers are now useless because instead of combining together to preach vigorously and defeat Tirtha Maharaj's cunning, they are all simply scheming how to become the next Acharya. Thus, they could not unite successfully. They all had the same disease that infected Tirtha Maharaj. So, Tirtha Maharaj was one of the most senior disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. But there was a conflict between him and another devotee. And so this is the Tirtha Maharaj that's been spoken here of. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta never said that one man would become the next Acharya. Otherwise, why did he not directly nominate one? Srila Prabhupada said that some god brothers claim that Bhakti Siddhanta indirectly indicated Tirtha should become the next guru. But Prabhupada said this was just like the impersonalists who cull indirect meanings from straightforward instructions. What Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati did order was a 12-man governing body commission be formed in his absence, but they ignored him. Prabhupada's comments were candid and revealing. It is apparent that among his god brothers, Prabhupada stands out as the one who truly desired to please his Guru Maharaj by vigorously preaching Lord Chaitanya's movement all over the world. As Srila Prabhupada himself often says, Palena Phari Chiyate, the value of something is judged by the fruit it produces. We continue. Gaur Govinda Swami sent a letter from Bhubaneswar requesting to be excused from coming to Mayapur as Prabhupada suggested in his last letter. He has managed to construct a small brick and thatched cottage on a on our land there, and is getting some help to establish ISKCON from some of the local people. Now he has to submit plans to the municipality before he can begin temple construction. Prabhupada excused him from attending the festival and offered his full blessings for his project. He told him that if he works sincerely, he will certainly be successful. He suggested that he support himself by translating and publishing our books into Orion, the local language. Prabhupada also sent a letter to Saurabha in Bombay requesting him to provide Gaur Govinda with suitable plans for the proposed temple complex. So it's so nice. Whenever we visit Jagannath Puri, we should go to Bhubaneswar. And I was fortunate to go there, and I stayed a few days as well. And I've seen they still have this thatched hut that Gaur Govinda Maharaj lived. And when Prabhupada went to visit, he built an adjoining room for Prabhupada as well, and a little bathroom for Prabhupada as well. And it's all there. Unfortunately now, they moved the Samadhi of His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj to another place in the temple complex, because they built a highway, and there was some politics and things like that. But eventually the local government won, and they had to remove the Samadhi of His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj to another place. And but the original hut is still there. We continue. February 13th, 1976. Today is Lord Nityananda's appearance, a half-day fast. Nityananda Prabhu liked urad dal. So this was one obvious preparation that was made for his feast. Pritu Putra Swami reported by mail from Kanpur that he was having good success in his preaching work. He is regularly holding programs in the homes of prominent citizens. He suggested that Prabhupada attend the upcoming Kumbh Mela festival to be held in Allahabad in February 1977. He mentioned that many people still remember Prabhupada's attendance at the Magh Mela 5 years ago. He also offered some mellifluous prayers to Prabhupada, comparing him to Sri Krishna's flute, because it is through him that we receive the words of Lord Krishna. Prabhupada appreciated his sentiments. He also asked Pritu Putra to go ahead and book a suitable berth at the Kumbh Mela. So the Kumbh Mela, and we also get more information that how Prabhupada actually left from Bombay by train to go to the Kumbh Mela. He was very sick, but still he decided to go. And it's very nicely described in the book, I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu story. Continue. This evening, we were very happy to hear Prabhupada say that he has been feeling well for the last 2 days. Nanda Rani regularly makes fresh batches of rasagullas, which Prabhupada keeps in a jar next to his desk. He has been taking a little milk with rock candy along with a half or sometimes a whole rasagulla, and also a little sandesh. This strategy is of taking his milk in solid form seems to be working, as his strength is increasing. In the evening, I came in with a cloth to wipe his desktop after he had eaten some rasagulla. There was a small pool of sugar water on the glass top, with many ants surrounded it. Many ants had surrounded it. I carefully flicked the ants away with the cloth in order to wipe up without harming them. Srila Prabhupada sat and watched. He looked at me, first at me, then at the ants, then back again at me. Quote, Prabhupada says, "Formerly you would have killed them," he said, smiling. This comment was revealing as it was true. My mind flashed back to the days as a young boy when I had delighted in pouring hot water down the nests of ants. I blushed with embarrassment as his observation reminded me of this dark episode in my past. Prabhupada saw my flushed face and his smile broadened. Seeing his pleasure at my reformed character, I reflected how it must be the same as the happiness that Narad Muni must have felt when transforming the hunter Mirgari. A sense of great gratitude surged through me as I contemplated my good fortune at having also met such a wonderful spiritual master. So we also see this Hari Sauri Prabhu, just by Prabhupada's association, he is having so much realization. It's wonderful that he is sharing this with us. And he's very open that what he used to do as a little boy. We'll continue. The roof was a convenient place for Srila Prabhupada to take his morning walk. With his sizable 45-foot width by 150-foot long expanse, is large enough for him to get sufficient exercise without having to leave the building. It also limits the number of devotees who accompany him to just a few senior men. The panorama from the roof is magnificent. From the single vantage point, Prabhupada can view what is going on within the entire compound. The perimeter of the roof is profusely decorated with potted plants and tulasi leaves, the tulasi trees, creating a pleasurable natural ambience. So, of course, when we go to Sridham Mayapur, we always visit Prabhupada's room. Offer our obeisances, we chant, say some prayers, and make some commitment. And then we also take some sweets from the jar that is there. And we walk, I go around, walk around. And now I'm reading that it was famous that Prabhupada would walk there. And often, sometimes when I take tourists down to the Food for Life section and I explain to them how the Food for Life program started, it was by Prabhupada taking a morning walk. And you would see from the top in the garbage area, I would see young boys and girls, local boys and girls fighting with dogs for scrap food, the leftover food. And when Prabhupada saw this, then he said that no one should go hungry within a 10-mile radius of any Hare Krishna temple. So this gave birth to the Hare Krishna Food for Life. So this is the whole scene that we're reading here. That again Prabhupada is going on his morning walk. And early on in the 70s, when Prabhupada built the first building, he made this the rule or instruction for ISKCON to have the Food for Life program. We continue. A peculiar event had been occurring each morning. Just after Prabhupada arrives on the roof, a very large black bee appears. It flies around Prabhupada and his party a few times as if in circumambulation. Then it comes to rest atop a small concrete spire marking the spot where the deities stand in the temple room, 4 floors below. Tamal Krishna today remarked that it appears to be just like one of the black bees described in Krishna book, which constantly fly around Lord Krishna in glorification of his Supreme Personality. He said that now it seems that this particular bee is also coming to offer his respects to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada appreciated his sentiments. He even stopped to inspect the bee for a minute before it flew off. Srila Prabhupada called in Radhika Maharaj to discuss the Mayapur temple management with him. He is becoming increasingly concerned that things were not being managed properly, especially since Bhavananda Maharaj left to join the boat party. Radhika volunteered the services of Mahavir Das, a Canadian sannyas candidate residing in Brazil. He said that Mahavir had considerable managerial experience and he does not have any pressing engagement at present. Mahavir was called in, and after a brief discussion, Prabhupada agreed he could be helping immediately. Bhagavan sent a very encouraging letter from France. He reported that they are opening a new center in Belgium in order to facilitate book distribution. He also stated that the Dutch Bhagavad Gita is being composed and many books are being sold throughout his southern European zone. He related some amazing Sankirtan stories from France, where they sell books mainly door to door. Quote, one devotee went into a hospital and the nurses dressed him up in a white surgeon's outfit and he distributed Gitas to the doctors. One nurse even took some Gitas from him, and while he went out to the other floors, she sold 4 big Gitas to the patients. Another devotee went to a factory and the foreman took orders from all the workers. Later, when the devotee returned to the factory, the foreman had distributed 12 big Gitas for him. So the main point about book distribution, Sankirtan is based by Sheshika Prabhu when he came. There's a big BBT conference somewhere in North Coast, so they came on a day's visit and he had a seminar that was arranged. And I remember I was at the book table, so I was hearing what was going on and he was sitting there and doing his presentation. He said the most important thing is to hit the pavement. You have to go out. You have to hit the pavement. Those were his words. And here we could see some nice Sankirtan stories just by devotees going out. Bhagavan also suggested some innovations in the forthcoming French edition of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, which will go into production shortly. He plans to remove the painting depicting the description of the creation from the front cover and put it inside on the end papers. He wants to put a painting of Krishna Balaram on the cover, which he thinks will help increase the door-to-door sales. Prabhupada was all smiles hearing his report. Nothing pleases him more than news of his books being sold or news of how people of the world are appreciating them. He approved the idea for a new cover and told Bhagavan his ideas were very good. He said that Bhagavan should sell books in huge quantity and then print again. However, not every GBC man is experiencing such success. Brahmananda Swami sent another disheartening report. Although he is working hard, fulfilling many roles as GBC, Nairobi Temple President, Life Membership Director, Correspondence Secretary and so on, he seems increasingly despondent in his preaching attempts in Africa. He has major problems to deal with a few devotees to help him. He has major problems to deal with and a few devotees to help him. Nanda Kumar Swami is there but he is untrained and cannot cope with more than just the pujari work and cooking. Because of his vast responsibilities in Africa and all the problems that he has to face there, he expressed his inability to attend the festival in Mayapur this year. Out of the 17 devotees in Africa, only 5 have missionary visas. The rest will have to leave due to a change in immigration law. He said that most of the local men that had joined have now left, stealing practically everything of value as they went. So the question comes to mind, he wrote, why are we here? At least I have little hope that the Africans will ever take seriously to Krishna consciousness. Brahmananda said that the primary field of teaching was among the Indian community, but they are also being forced to leave by the government. He gave a very bleak overview of the potential of preaching in the entire continent. This is, quote, this is really a disturbed part of the world and offers very little opportunity to spread our movement. Americans cannot travel to Congo or Uganda. We are already banned in Zambia. Tanzania has refused our attempt to register, and I've been arrested twice. Ethiopia, from where I've just returned in December, is very tense and going communist very rapidly. Mozambique had just had a revolution, and there's open war in Angola. Our men just returned from Sudan, which is incredibly poor and destitute, as so is Chad, Central Africa, Republic, etc. Only Nigeria seems to offer any opportunity for establishing a center. All the other GBCs have civilized areas of the world that are developed to spread this movement. So this was the despondency of Brahmananda Prabhu at that time. There are 2 bright spots though. He paid off $1,860 from his BBT debt of $12,000. And in Mauritius, a small band of brahmacharis are being well received and are preaching enthusiastically around the island. Prabhupada was sympathetic but purposeful. In his reply, he encouraged Brahmananda to work vigorously and continue with his efforts to preach. He also suggested he base himself in Mauritius, which Prabhupada described as a very nice place by the sea. As for whether he could remain in Africa or not, Srila Prabhupada said that will have to be discussed by the GBC. Hare Krishna. So that ends this session. Very wonderful to always hear Prabhupada's pastimes and his dealings with devotees. Anyone has any comment would like to add on? Any realizations?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Radhika Jivana. In the beginning of the class, we were hearing about how Srila Prabhupada said actually a sannyasi has no obligations. We were talking about the accommodation, and he wasn't actually obliged to accommodate. Yet I was just thinking about how Srila Prabhupada and even our spiritual masters, even though they don't have obligations to deal with us in such personal ways, like looking at our situations so carefully and advising us so personally, actually they're not obliged to get so involved, and yet we see they do, and I just find that very heartwarming that they're so kind to us, to give us so much time and to look into situations that actually sannyasis are free of. They don't have to advise us about certain things, but they do anyway out of kindness, and I just find that very heartwarming. And then you were talking about how the ants, the ant situation, and Srila Prabhupada, he said just one sentence, and from that his disciples, they got so much realization from just one sentence. And I was thinking about my spiritual master as well, how he, when I was cleaning his ashram, he said just one sentence to me, and from that, after I thought about it, I had many realizations. I was just thinking about how powerful the words of our spiritual masters are. Just one sentence can give us so much if we listen carefully and think about what they're saying. And then I was also thinking about how that little bug was, I don't know, I think you said a beetle, or was it a bee? You said, yeah, the bee. He was paying obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. I was thinking about how when I was in Cape Town Temple, I went for a japa walk, and then on the way there was a butterfly who came to sit with me, and then he wouldn't leave, so I just took him to the temple, and I didn't pay obeisances to Srila Prabhupada first. I went to the altar to show the butterfly to the deities, and as soon as I did that, the butterfly immediately flew to Srila Prabhupada's feet, and I thought, it was a very mystical experience, and it was a reminder for me, but it also just shows that the super soul within the hearts of even the insects is guiding them to make progress by paying obeisances to a pure devotee, even in their insect forms. I thought that was quite interesting.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other comments? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.